Attalus, captured and imprisoned in 317 BCE. Not to be confused with either Alexander's ill-fated father-in-law or the head of the family which went on to found the kingdom of Pergamon, this Attalus is a rather obscure Macedonian officer whose biographical details and deeds are not well attested in our sources. Due to the power and influence that he had in 323, we can guess that he was a veteran of Alexander's campaign with as much or perhaps more prestige than Meleager. Later events show him to be somewhat comfortable with naval matters, so it is possible that he served under Nearchus at one point. Beyond that, it is impossible to comment on Attalus' precise position or exact experience without engaging in pure speculation. Attalus first appears at the contentious army assembly in Babylon, where Macedon's leaders were debating who should take Alexander's place on the throne. During these proceedings, Attalus was on the side of Meleager in supporting the rights of Philip II's developmentally disabled son Aridaeus, and the two of them helped to inflame the xenophobia of the Macedonian rank and file against allowing a foreign king like Heracles or Roxanne's yet unborn son to take the throne. In the ensuing chaos, where the infantry seized Babylon and Perdiccas with the cavalry surrounded and cut off the city, the impasse was only broken when Attalus and Perdiccas cut a backroom deal. Abandoning his friend Meleager, Attalus agreed to support Perdiccas' plan in exchange for the hand of Perdiccas' daughter in marriage. While many of the mutineers that he had helped rouse up against Perdiccas were then trampled by war elephants, and his former comrade Meleager was betrayed and murdered by the same man, Attalus was accepted into Perdiccas' new inner circle, and he became a devoted Perdican. Along with Eumenes and Alcitas, Attalus was assigned to Anatolia during the First War of the Successors. Just like Alcitas, Attalus chafed at the idea of being a subordinate under the command of a Greek like Eumenes. It is possible that Perdiccas either knew of the limited abilities of his brother and son-in-law, wished to avoid having to choose between them lest he offend either, or that he simply saw Eumenes as more reliable or more capable. But whatever his precise motives, he did insist on Eumenes having the supreme command. Attalus seems to have acceded to this order until Perdiccas was murdered in a mutiny on the east bank of the Nile in 321. At that time, Attalus was condemned by the army assembly along with the other Perdican officers, and he decided to go his own way. Taking a fleet to Tyre, Attalus acquired Perdiccas' treasury, and he began to attract Argead loyalists to his version of the cause. When the victors in the First War of the Successors assembled at Triparadisus, they apparently did not invest in top-notch security. Allying himself with Philip III, Aridaeus' wife, the new Eurydice II, Attalus once again worked to sow discontent at an army assembly. Eurydice II had Argead blood, and so she possessed a degree of legitimacy that none of the assembled successors had. The other thing that they collectively lacked was the money to cover the bonuses that the troops were expecting. Attalus, with his treasury at Tyre, was able to offer up these funds. Attalus and Eurydice II worked together to combine their wealth and legitimacy, but ultimately the plot came to naught, as Antigonus and Seleucus were able to restore order to the assembly, and the coalition leaders were able to reconcile with the aggrieved Eurydice II. In the summer of 320, Eumenes called a strategy conference for all of the surviving Perdican generals. By this time, Antigonus, as the new general of Asia, had amassed a large army, and he was in a position to defeat the Perdicans in a piecemeal fashion if they did not cooperate. Eumenes proposed combining the resources under his command and wearing out their opponents through attrition and frustration until they agreed to lift the death sentences on the Perdican leaders and restore them to favor. Attalus seems to have rejected this proposal in favor of his own designs, whatever those may have been. At around this time, Attalus received news that Ptolemy was planning to expand his reach into Palestine and Phoenicia. Rather than trusting the impregnability of Tyre, Attalus gathered his fleet, army, and treasury, and he decided to conquer the strategic island of Rhodes. The Rhodian fleet, however, intercepted and defeated him, forcing him to seek refuge with Alcitas in Pisidia, which at the time looked like a safe area. With the men, ships, and money that he provided, Attalus was no doubt welcomed with open arms. It would also seem that Attalus yielded to the supreme command of Alcitas at this time. Whatever sense of security the Perdiccans and Pisidia felt was a fundamental misunderstanding of their position. The army was stationed in the center of a pass, and there was a hill to their rear which obscured the approach of any enemy force. Thinking that Antigonus and their other opponents were too far away to worry about, Attalus and his allies do not seem to have kept up proper scouting patrols and pickets. One morning in 317, Antigonus arrived suddenly after making an incredible forced march, and he charged from the nearby hill with his war elephants. Although Alcitas and his followers fought hard, they were out of position and they had no chance. Attalus was captured along with his fellow Perdiccans, Docomus and Polemon. Antigonus had them imprisoned somewhere in Asia Minor, and Attalus was never heard from again. Given Antigonus's normal mercy, it is likely that Attalus and his fellow prisoners died in captivity of natural causes years later. Attalus was a minor and not terribly impressive figure in this period. While he was not inspiring, and he failed to make himself relevant enough even to warrant a Wikipedia article, he still impacted the course of events. He twice stirred up the army assembly, the first time causing a full-blown mutiny, and the second time nearly getting Antipater killed on stage. Attalus's career as a successor is yet another example of how Perdiccas enjoyed surrounding himself with mediocrities, and another example of the Macedonian pride and xenophobia which prevented men like Eumenes and Nearchus from being more successful.